Hi guys, in today's video I wanted to talk about the tools and supplies that every DIYer should have in their toolbox. I've curated a list of about 20 items and I want to walk through them one by one and explain what they are and then why you should have them in your arsenal as a DIYer. If you've owned a house for more than a week, you know that something is bound to break and you're going to have to fix it. You can save a ton of money by just doing it yourself if you have the right tools. So let's walk through each of these items and explain what they're used for and why you should have them. This is the number one and number two item in my toolbox, the impact drill as well as a regular drill. If you're gonna be doing anything that requires screws, you gotta have a good set of drills. If you're gonna be constructing anything outside, like building a pergola, if you saw my previous video, you're gonna wanna have a good drill. And then if you're gonna be building furniture or anything like that, assembling something, you wanna have a good drill to save time. And then beyond that, you want to have a good drill bit set and then different attachments for the drill. Every screw is different, so you want to make sure that you can screw everything in effectively. And then along those same lines, you're going to want to pick up various sizes of screws as well. These will come in super handy with the various projects that you're going to take on. And then if you move into a new house or an apartment, you know that you always want to hang up some of your nice artwork on the wall. So you want to get some wall anchors as well, maybe a box of these. There's various kinds of wall anchors as well. These are just kind of the cheap plastic kind, but this will make sure that your artwork is nice and secure in the drywall and you won't have any issues with your art falling down. And then along the same lines of artwork, you want to have a stud finder as well. And that goes along the wall, so that you can make sure that if you have a heavier piece of art or some other thing that you want to hang on the wall, you can find that stud and you can use one of these stud finders. They're like $10. And then to make sure that your artwork and really anything is level, you're going to want to pick up a couple of levels. These are really cheap and they're good for really all types of projects around the house. Now let's talk about some other basic tools and supplies that we should have on hand. And of course, this one's kind of self-explanatory, a hammer. And it's great for hitting in nails as well as nudging things into place if you need it, and just basically bashing stuff around the house, whatever you need it to do. I also encourage you to get a saw, and probably one of these band saws is nice. It's compact and you can switch out the blades. This one is for metal, but you can cut PVC pipe, you can cut wood depending on the blade that you get. So highly encourage you to get a band saw as well. Now, if you're not able to use a drill, you got to have a screwdriver. And one of these that changes has different tips. A kind of a multi-tool screwdriver comes in really handy for kind of tough to reach places. Additionally, everyone should have a good knife. It's good for scraping stuff. It's good for cutting things. I would encourage you to have a good utility knife for all of your projects. Also, tape measures. These come in super handy as well. If you're hanging artwork, if you're measuring flooring, whatever it might be, it's super important to know exactly what the measurement is so that you can do precise work. Some important tape, the duct tape. They say duct tape fixes everything. It's really true and it comes in quite handy. If you're doing a paint job, you're gonna wanna have some blue painter's tape as well. It's also just really handy for marking things on walls, knowing where your measurements are after you use the tape measure. Use just a pencil and some blue tape so you know where everything is as you're going about your projects. Also, some various pliers and cutting tools. You want to have a bunch of these. If you need to disassemble a sink, something like this is going to come in really handy. There's also tin snips, wire cutters, and then multi-tools and different pliers that you can use depending on the job that you're going to be doing. Now, if two small wrenches don't do the trick, you might want to go ahead and invest in a full wrench kit. 250 pieces here, comes with socket wrenches. You saw me use the socket wrench in my pergola video, and it is a great tool. All of these wrenches are super handy if you ever need to put something together. Now, this is a slightly lesser known tool by the average DIYer, but it's called an oscillating tool. And this thing is great for cutting trim or baseboards. You can cut a piece of wood in half, and it's super handy and it's really cheap actually. You can get one for about $30 to $40 on Amazon. Now here's a really cool tool that you guys might appreciate. It's called an endoscope, and it's not designed for the human body, but it is designed to see inside walls, up into your attic, behind sinks, into drains. If you have a pipe on the roof that you can't see into, it actually comes with a 20-foot snake with a camera on the end, which I think is pretty cool here. So there, maybe I can see myself. But these things are like $100 on Amazon. They're actually a nifty little handheld device. If you have a hole in the wall that you need to see into that you can't get your head into, this is actually a pretty handy device. Now, probably the most important part of this video, let's talk about the things that you should always have for all of your projects in terms of safety. You do not want to jeopardize your health or your skin or your eyeballs for a rogue piece of something flying in there. So let's take a look at what we should have on hand for all of our projects. First of all, invest in a good pair of gloves. I probably have 5 different pairs of gloves, for gardening or projects, operating power tools, that you want to make sure that you have something to protect your hands and all of your digits. And then masks. Invest in a good mask. I also have a respirator as well that I've used for painting. And if you're doing something with insulation in your attic or shoveling gravel like you saw in my previous video with a lot of dust, you want to make sure that your lungs are covered. So invest in a good mask. This is about 50 masks for, I think I got them for $5. So it's a worthy investment. Next, some good knee pads, and these are really, really thick, and I've used these for flooring. I would invest in a good pair of knee pads. Your knees will thank you later. Also, probably the most important of all, some good eyewear. You want to have some eye protection. These are only a few bucks at Home Depot, but if you're operating a saw, cutting wood, or any of these power tools, even a drill, sawdust can get in your eyes. You want to protect your eyeballs because going blind over a simple DIY project is not going to be fun. And then even take it a step further with a face shield. You can do the glasses and then the face shield on top of it so that you have no chance of becoming injured with anything on your face. Lastly, some earplugs. Some of these tools operate at a really high RPM and they're really loud. I would invest in a good pair of earplugs so that you can protect your ears and again, your eyes, your lungs, everything. So make sure you're protected during your DIY projects. Now let's talk about some basic supplies that every DIYer should have around the house. And of course, the staple everywhere is WD-40. You can loosen up hinges and oil up machinery. It's really great to have on hand and it's really cheap. Some caulk. This is great for giving your house a fresh look, caulking around the backsplash of the kitchen or around the sink and just keeping everything nice and sealed so that you don't end up with water damage in the future. Some Flex Seal or a similar product. If you've been around plumbing, you know that things start to leak and just giving it a quick coat underneath the sink can help solve a lot of headache. Some plumber's putty and some silicone. If you've ever been around plumbing before, you know that things start to leak and you want to make sure that you have a watertight seal. If you've ever replaced a drain, you know that you got to do the job right with some silicone or some plumber's putty or a similar product to make sure that the job is done correctly. All right, that's all I wanted to cover today. We went through a bunch of tools and supplies that will allow you to accomplish most of your DIY projects. If you have these ready to go, you'll be able to take on whatever project you need at your house. And of course, after you do more and more projects, you'll pick up more and more great tools. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. Until next time, we'll see you later.